Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos are one of those couples that people love to point to and say, see, real love does exist in Hollywood. And while that sentiment is sweet, the full story is so much richer, so much messier, and so much more layered than the polished image they present on television. The reason their reconciliation and renewed commitment has been making headlines is not just because they are famous. It is because their journey back to each other holds up a mirror to something millions of people experience in their own relationships: distance, doubt, the creeping fear that love alone might not be enough, and the hard-fought realization that sometimes it actually is. For anyone who needs a quick refresher, Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos first met in 1995 on the set of the long-running soap opera, All My Children. Kelly was already a rising star on the show, playing the beloved Haley Vaughn, when a young, charismatic actor named Mark Consuelos walked onto set to audition for the role of Mateo Santos. The chemistry was immediate and undeniable, even to the people around them. Within a year, the two had eloped in Las Vegas in May of 1996, a spontaneous, almost cinematic decision that shocked even their closest friend and family. From the outside, it looked like a whirlwind romance that might burn out fast. Hollywood has seen countless versions of that story. Two attractive people meet on a set, fall fast, marry faster, and then quietly drift apart when real life sets in. But Kelly and Mark defied that narrative, at least for a while. They built a family together, welcoming 3 children: Michael, Lola, and Joaquin. They moved through the entertainment world as a unit, supporting each other's individual careers while maintaining the appearance of a rock-solid partnership. Kelly, of course, became a daytime television icon, taking over as co-host on Live with Regis and Kelly in 2001, and eventually becoming one of the most recognizable faces in morning television. Mark carved out his own path with acting roles, producing work, and eventually joining Kelly on Live with Kelly and Mark as her permanent co-host. They were, by all public accounts, the gold standard of a working Hollywood couple. But behind the highlight reel, there were cracks. Not catastrophic ones. Not the kind that make tabloid front pages overnight. The subtle kind. The quiet kind. The ones that only 2 people inside a marriage can truly feel. Sources close to the couple, along with Kelly and Mark themselves in various candid interviews over the years, have gradually painted a picture of a relationship that went through a very real and very serious rough patch. The pressure of 2 high-profile careers, extended periods of separation due to filming schedules, and the relentless demands of raising 3 children in the public eye all took their toll. Mark has been open about the fact that his work frequently took him away from home for months at a time, and Kelly has admitted in her own frank way that managing the household, her career, and the emotional weight of a long-distance marriage was genuinely exhausting. There were periods where the two were, by all honest accounts, emotionally disconnected. Not enemies, not strangers, but 2 people running so fast on their own individual tracks that they had quietly stopped running together. People who know them well have described those years as a time when Kelly and Mark were coexisting more than they were truly connecting, doing the work of being partners without always feeling the partnership. What changed everything, according to those close to the couple, was a convergence of factors that forced them to slow down and actually look at each other again. First, their children began leaving the nest. The transition from an intensely child-focused household to something quieter and more intimate forced both Kelly and Mark to confront a simple but enormous question: who are we to each other now that we are not just parents managing a busy home? Second, Mark's decision to join Kelly permanently on Live with Kelly and Mark turned out to be far more transformative than either of them anticipated. What many assumed would be a smooth, easy professional partnership quickly revealed itself to be something deeper. Spending that much deliberate time together, being genuinely present with each other in a structured environment, reminded them of something they had let fade: their natural ease with one another, their shared sense of humor, their instinct to have each other's backs. Kelly has spoken in interviews about how the professional partnership reignited something personal. She described moments on set where she would look at Mark and feel genuinely surprised by him again, in the best possible way. And Mark has echoed that sentiment, noting that being her co-host forced him to be intentional about showing up in a way that daily domestic life sometimes does not demand. But beyond the professional reset, insiders point to a deeper, more private reckoning that both Kelly and Mark undertook individually. Sources indicate that both of them reached a point where they each had to decide, separately and then together, what they actually wanted from their lives and from their marriage. And both of them arrived at the same answer. They wanted each other. Not the version of each other that existed for cameras or public appearances, but the real, unfiltered, imperfect version that only they are privileged to know. When Kelly and Mark began openly discussing their renewed closeness in interviews and on their show, the public reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Fans who had followed the couple for decades expressed genuine emotion on social media, with countless posts celebrating what many described as proof that long-term love can be rekindled. The hashtag conversations around their story trended across multiple platforms, with viewers sharing their own personal stories of marriages that had gone through difficult seasons and come out stronger. Media outlets ranging from People magazine to Entertainment Tonight ran deep-dive features on the couple's journey, and entertainment journalists noted that there was something distinctly different about how Kelly and Mark were speaking about each other in 2023 and 2024 compared to years prior. The warmth felt less performed and more earned. The affection seemed quieter, but somehow more real. Even skeptics, the ones who typically roll their eyes at celebrity love stories, found themselves moved by the specificity and honesty with which both Kelly and Mark were willing to discuss the hard parts of their relationship without sensationalizing them. What makes the Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos story genuinely significant in the broader entertainment landscape is not that they stayed together through difficulty. Plenty of couples do that. What makes it meaningful is that they chose each other again, actively and consciously, after going through the kind of emotional distance that breaks many relationships permanently. In an industry that profits enormously from the spectacle of celebrity breakups and dramatic reunions, the quiet, deliberate nature of how these two found their way back to each other feels almost radical. There were no explosive public arguments, no cheating scandals, no dramatic separations announced through press releases. There was just two people doing the invisible, unglamorous work of remembering why they chose each other in the first place. That is a message that resonates far beyond their fan base. It speaks to anyone who has ever felt the particular loneliness of being distant from someone they love while technically still being in the same room. Looking ahead, both Kelly and Mark seem to be entering what many close to them describe as the most intentional chapter of their relationship. With their children grown and their professional lives more intertwined than ever, the two appear to be genuinely investing in each other in new and deliberate ways. There is talk of collaborative creative projects, continued co-hosting, and a shared vision for this next phase of their lives that prioritizes connection over the relentless pace they maintained for decades. Fans can expect to see more of the candid, warm dynamic that has made their on-screen partnership so compelling. And if the trajectory of their current relationship holds, their story may well continue to evolve in ways that surprise even the people who have followed them from the very beginning. At the end of the day, the real reason Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos got back to each other, truly back to each other, is not a single dramatic moment or a headline-worthy event. It is a series of quiet choices made over time. The choice to show up. The choice to slow down. The choice to see each other again. And in a world that constantly celebrates the new and the spectacular, there is something genuinely beautiful about a love story that finds its greatest depth not at the beginning, but somewhere in the complicated, underestimated middle. So we want to hear from you. Do you think Kelly and Mark's story gives you hope for long-term love? Or do you think Hollywood relationships can ever really survive the pressure? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And while you are there, hit that like button if this story moved you even a little. Subscribe to stay with us because we cover the stories behind the stories, the real ones, every single week. We will see you in the next one.